Hi, everybody, and thank you for having me. And we're going back to the subject of citizen science and anglers. Lots of overlap with some of the talks here today. I'm going to be giving you an Irish perspective. Ciara Wögerbauer here. I'm representing my team, and this is very much collaborative results presented today. So I'm going to be talking about bass in Ireland, why Inland Fisheries Ireland is involved in bream and bass, the application of angler supply data, more about spawning season timing, which is the hot topic of today, and a little bit on our tagging program that we have involving anglers. So what's the Irish situation? In the 1980s, the commercial landings of bass into Irish landings tanked, and so Ireland closed the commercial fishing for bass. And for that reason, bass is one of only 2 marine species that is effectively managed solely for angling, putting in a very specific special position. We have very similar angling regs to those that you have here, so 42 centimetre minimum landing size. We have a 2 bass bag limit per day, and our closed season, which is actually, we permit catch and release angling between February and March. So the timing is similar. We do permit catch and release that time. So Inland Fisheries Ireland, the reason we're involved is because we also have responsibility for sea angling, and we provide scientific advice to government, and we have a close relationship with anglers. Bass anglers are also our eyes and ears in the ground. So we do have a protection element. I work in research, but our protection element would patrol on rib patrols, like in the picture, or in foot patrols for illegal bass activity. And we also rely on bass anglers as our eyes and ears on the ground to report illegal activity. So we have the National Bass Programme, which undertakes some monitoring, which would be seine netting for 0 groups and trawling for 1- and 2-year-olds. But today I'm going to be talking about anglers at Citizen Science. And the reason that this component is so important to us is this programme is a really small, non-funded programme. And sea anglers provide a really valuable data set, if we can tap into it, on adult bass. And because of the closure of the commercial fishing, we don't have that commercial data to understand what's going on around their coast. So we ask any bass anglers who are interested to take scale samples on our behalf and to report length information. They don't have to give really specific locations on where they're fishing, because we know bass anglers are really, really protective of their angling marks. I will not be divulging any information here, and but the map on the right there, the left, let's get that right, on the left shows the distribution of the samples that we've received since 2013, which would broadly be in agreement with the known distribution of adult bass. You also get adult bass slightly further along the northeast coast, and we get reports of Donegal based bass angling improving, so along the northwest, and we're hoping to expand the programme to incorporate samples from there. But the hotspots here demonstrate how important the south coast is for bass angling, and for the presence of adult bass tends to be found in the southeast, the south, and the southwest. We also have a market capture tagging program. This is spaghetti tags, not data storage tags, not archival acoustic tags, but a very valuable program which involves anglers. We have some logbook data from anglers, and a small number of bass anglers have retained bass bodies and heads on our behalf. So now I'm going to move on to some of the results, and the scale samples have been provided to us to date. We have over 5,000 lengths and scales since 2013. That kind of information turns into length frequencies on the left, and then age year classes. So we've talked already today about the importance of strong year classes, and we have some evidence in the Irish data set of a very strong year class from 2014, which seems to be maybe a little bit different to what we've talked about from UK bass so far. And we saw strong numbers of 4-year-old bass, which would have been spawned in 2014, appearing in the angler supply data set in 2018, again in 2019, and again in 2020. They didn't really appear after that. So they're only turning up as 4-, 5-, and 6-year-olds. They weren't turning up as older fish. So, and of course, we, having a strong connection with our bass anglers, know the importance of large fish in the fishery. Now, when we have this kind of data set, length information, age information, we're thinking, what else can we do with it? And obviously the answer is fruit, or maybe not, but maybe yes, if Lime is a length integrated model that is a stock assessment model that can assess data limited stocks. So stocks where you don't have commercial catch data, but you might have just length and age frequency. Now, obviously, we've already spoken about the fact that ICES assesses the stock status of the wider northern stock, and Kieran spoke about that earlier today. So why are we looking at this? This is really to look at the local Irish situation and fully utilise our bass angler data and see if there's something specific in our data set that we can understand the local situation. It incorporates different parameters from the individual bass angler data, and also parameters like the natural mortality that was spoken about earlier from the IC stock assessment that's publicly available. So what can we say from this initial preliminary assessment we've done? So we've looked at 2013 to 2020 data, and what we've seen so far is that fish submitted to us have been, the ones towards the end of the data set are smaller than those in 2013, and fishing mortality is inferred to have increased. This is not consistent with the IC status assessment, and spawning stock biomass is inferred to increase. But everybody's looking at those huge confidence intervals and uncertainties. And the problem with the data set that we've used so far is that it's only a small number of years. And for a relatively long-lived species like bass, we need at least 15 years of data to hopefully reduce uncertainty. So this emphasizes the importance of really long-term data, which we've talked about before in terms of monitoring, but also for the adult scale sampling programs such as this, especially where the commercial data is not available. Other studies that we have done in collaboration with anglers have been in response to observations. Like you also have seen that there is spawning happening after the catch and release season, after February and March. And we've, rather than looking at otoliths, we took a approach of looking at a very small pilot study where we actually dissected bass and found evidence in females and males, but particularly in the females, of spawning happening in May. So very, very similar results to those presented already today. This is a very small sample size, and it's focused on bass from the southwest. So there's lots of potential to either expand this or perhaps look at otoliths, such as the method that Joe has undertaken, and look at daily growth counts. But we're seeing the same pattern in Irish waters. So finally, I'm going to talk about our market capture program. So here we provide the tags to bass anglers, some training, and to date we have over 3,500 bass tagged. And as Tom mentioned, this is a very simple method. You don't get the in-between data, you just get the tagging information and the recapture information. But what we have got is presence and tagging location and size information of these fish around the southeast, south and southwest, and some on the west coast as well. And very, very low recapture rates. We have just 47 recaptures, which is 1.3%. Typically, you might expect about a 5% recapture rate. And possibly that's because the tags, when they're recaptured, don't look nice and bright and yellow as they do in this picture, which is what we were hoping for. They look like that. And even bass taggers have almost missed, and probably are missing, the presence of the tags because of algal growth. Seems to be particularly bad in bass, but perhaps we need to improve our information campaign to raise awareness on the presence of these bass tags in our bass or in Irish waters. Well, I'll draw your attention to the map on the right, which has the tagging locations in green and the recapture locations in red of our 47 recaptures. And what you'll see is that there's mostly short distance recaptures and 2 long distance recapture. So on the eastern side of the coast, the southeast, we have a Cornish recapture and a French recapture as well. And but the majority of our fish were recaptured within 40 kilometers, 43% within 1 kilometer. So this is going back to the seasonal recaptures and seasonal site fidelity of bass, and reinforcing, providing evidence for that. There's also a disconnect in our data set in that there is movement on the southeast, but on the southwest, we only see movement between the southwest. So any fish recaptured in the southwest would have been tagged in that area. And our evidence hasn't shown any evidence of movement to the east, but obviously the numbers are small there. So I suppose the long and short of this presentation is to show the value of bass anglers collaborating with scientists to maximize our data collection, and also to emphasize the importance in Ireland of bass angling, because without bass angling there is no adult bass data. There is some possibility to use angling information for stock assessment, and I haven't mentioned it earlier in the presentation, but some of this information has gone into informing an MPA designation report, because we don't have protection for bass nurseries or juvenile estuaries in Ireland, and we're looking to improve that, and MPA designation is ongoing at the moment. And it's also, the presence of bass is also being taken into account when positioning offshore renewable energy in the Irish Sea as well. So observations by sea anglers can help to focus scientific studies, and finally, I suppose what I haven't mentioned, but Hannah mentioned earlier, is the feedback to anglers, and the relationship with anglers is so important. So stakeholders have a major involvement and are being invested, can maximise survival rates and really enhance the stock. So thank you all very much.